Okay, so Seth Rollins is injured. They don't quite know the severity of the injury, but this again kind of lends credence to the curse of the briefcase, so to speak. So we're going to go through all the Money in the Bank winners, what happened to them, and if it actually was as it was designed to catapult them to the next level of stardom, if they were to become a superstar off of it. So the first winner, of course, was Edge. Edge cashing on John Cena, which led to a really solid year of feuding between Edge and John Cena. But Edge was already a guy who was very much ready to break through that glass ceiling, and he did. That worked really well. Second one, Rob Van Dam. You know, remember his one-night stand match against John Cena? Epic. Great. But again, Rob was always somebody who was right there. Rob was always somebody at that time who was just right. He was in main event matches, he just didn't win the big match. So he went in to become WWE and ECW champion. Got busted for drugs, lost both titles. Hasn't really hit that level since that point. Then we go to Kennedy. Remember Kennedy? Kennedy sustained an injury they thought was major. He was stripped of the briefcase. Got busted for yet wellness. Came back, was about to become the illegitimate son of Mr. McMahon. Wellness, came back, was kind of sloppy with Orton, got fired. So Kennedy, who was right there, Kennedy at this point in time would have made the largest jump from mid-card with a great amount of talent to a main event player. But it never materialized. Now we go to CM Punk. How many people remember Punk's first major title reign where he defeated Edge? It was a big moment for his career, but that one really didn't solidify him that well. He had a couple matches with Edge that were pretty good. They never really got to have that rivalry they should have had, because it would have been amazing. So it was good, but it didn't quite measure up as well as it should have. CM Punk again. Now, CM Punk this time cashes in on Jeff Hardy, which led to the phenomenal Jeff Hardy CM Punk feud. So far, Edge was already kind of a main event guy. This helped put him into the main event for a good long while. Rob Van Dam got him in the main event, wasn't able to sustain it. Kennedy, this could have been his rocket shot, didn't work. CM Punk and CM Punk. First time, didn't work out very well. Second time, did a pretty good job. This was around the time when CM Punk had probably his best heel run. Against the time when he came out, people had thought Jeff Hardy had left. CM Punk comes out dressed like Jeff Hardy to his music with the face paint. Brilliant. That stuff in a straight edge society was probably his best time as a heel. Easily the best thing to watch on SmackDown at the time. And then Jack Swagger. Yeah, remember Swagger's World Heavyweight Championship run? When he came out with the giant bald eagle? Yeah. He lost the belt and never really regained that level of being there at the top. He almost had it again this year with WrestleMania, but we the people. So he's had that issue where we the people more or less kind of stopped him from hitting that level again. It's kind of sad. Then we go to Kane. Kane, again, somebody who was already a main event player, wins it, cashes in. Do you remember the Mrs.? Do you remember Kane's World Heavyweight Championship run? Remember that? Yeah, it wasn't a very memorable run, which is always kind of sad. And there's not these really memorable runs, and it was longer than his first major title reign, but still it didn't have as much impact as it should have had. The Miz. Now with The Miz, they did a great job when it came to him teasing the rundown for the cash-in. The Miz won the championship, rode that wave all the way to WrestleMania, where he defeated John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania. So yes, he beat John Cena at a WrestleMania in a main event. Nobody really cared because that was essentially the prequel to the next 2 years of John Cena facing The Rock. Miz loses the championship, and Miz won that in Money Make Champion in 2010. So it means he was champion about 2011. Here we are, 14. He has really never, ever come close to that level. So he actually, at this point in time, would have had the largest jump from where he was to main event status. And then when it was done, he went absolutely nowhere. Now we get to go to Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan at the time, kind of a face. Says that he's not going to cash until WrestleMania. Cashes in early. After a match between Big Show and Henry, cashes in. As a heel, spends a lot of time in matches with Henry and Big Show, and survives. Only to end up losing the title in 18 seconds against Sheamus. Then several years later, now we're looking at 2012, that's when it happens, now 2014. Well, in 2012 that happens. In 2013 he becomes champion for less than a day. 2014, he has the biggest story of the year. He's now on his second neck surgery of the year and a shoulder surgery. And his career is really not looking very great right now. Now we go to Del Rio. Yeah, Del Rio's a phenomenal talent, but for some strange reason, they do not know how to get him to click with the crowd and be substantial for a long period of time. So again, you have Del Rio cashes in. This is 2011. I want to say that he ended up being the person who put a real big damper on the Summer of Punk. And what could have been a phenomenal time for the Summer of Punk. Because he cashed in on Punk after Kevin Nash attacked CM Punk. So it could have been this really fantastic, brilliantly long time of Punk holding the title. It gets jackknifed by Kevin Nash and Del Rio. And Del Rio, from that point, really hadn't hit that level of being someone you actually cared about. Which is sad, because the guy actually is really solid in the ring. It's just they don't really know what to do with him. So he was somebody who has always made that cusp, became champion. It's almost an afterthought, because at that time it was definitely the time of John Cena, CM Punk. But those two were putting on phenomenal matches. But then you put the title on Del Rio, which hurt their feud and didn't do anything for Del Rio. Now, over the time of Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler, again, someone who was slamming into that glass ceiling super hard and then selling that glass ceiling hit like a champion. Finally cashes in. Crowd goes nuts. He becomes champion. Gets a concussion. Really never gets a chance to do anything as champion. They pull off a decent double turn. But Ziggler never really got a chance to do anything as champ. And now here we are 2 years later with everyone kind of going, will Ziggler ever get a chance to be that person who's going to try to come in and really make a big difference? On the opposite side of that, John Cena was champion. Was Money in the Bank champion. Goes to cash in, is not successful. Why you give John Cena the Money in the Bank? He doesn't need it. It's another accolade to add to his list, which will soon pretty much put him as one of the greatest of all time. So you look just at amount of merchandise sold, main events, and accolades to his career, but he didn't need the win. Let's see who he was in a match with Jericho, The Miz, Kane, and The Big Show. Out of everyone from that, Miz probably needed the win the most to become relevant again. Didn't happen. We need Damien Sandow. Damien Sandow winning led to a really great feud with Cody Rhodes. But then do you remember when John Cena came back through his Wolverine style of healing to defeat Del Rio? And then a one-armed John Cena got beaten out with a briefcase by Damien Sandow. Damien Sandow lost to a one-armed John Cena. Now Damien Sandow's doing silent commercials on Raw across Adam Rose. It's like tug of war with a hot dog. Yeah. Money in the Bank was great for his career. Other side, Randy Orton. Again, really no reason for... Orton was in there against CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Christian, Sheamus, and Rob Van Dam. Let's be honest, out of that group, almost everyone was pulling for Christian. That would have given Christian that opportunity to have that one last substantial run. So they give it to Orton. So what happens? Daniel Bryan becomes champion, gets attacked by Triple H. Orton cashes in. Leads to a relatively lukewarm time of Orton feuding with Daniel Bryan, and then throwing in Big Show, which eventually culminates, of course, to Daniel Bryan winning the championship at WrestleMania, which is a great story. Just pretty much from post SummerSlam to WrestleMania, that title just really didn't do anything. They decided to unify the belts because, you know, if you have people at the top doesn't rotate, you know, consolidate your belts to have less rotation. And now 2014, we've got Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins currently injured. Now going back through that, pretty much whoever cashes that in, unless you are absolutely healthy and the storyline around you is great, the Money in the Bank briefcase is only really good to take somebody who is lower main event to main event for a brief period of time. It's not what it should be. It's not that take a guy who's upper mid, make him a sustainable main event character, a main event player. So I hope Seth Rollins gets better soon. I hope that he actually can break through the glass ceiling and stay there. Become a main event player. Not be someone like Ziggler, who's got a lot of potential, but isn't going anywhere. Sandow, a lot of potential, isn't going anywhere. The Miz, a lot of potential, put him up there too soon, didn't help him at all.